June 28th regular town council meeting. I'd like to invite Keyshawn, Ben, and Ethan, scouts from Troop 424, to lead us in the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, for announcements, there's a few things here coming up on Tuesday, July 3rd from 6:30 until 8 p.m. The Merrimack Concert Association and the Merrimack Concert Association Holiday Concert at Abbey Griffin Park will occur. Wednesday, July 4th, Independence Day at 8 a.m. There's a Sparkler 5K road race that begins and ends at the Merrimack YMCA, Manchester Street. That will be closed from 7:30 until 10 a.m. to accommodate that. There will be lane closure on DW Highway that morning between BAE and Henry Clay Drive. At 8 o'clock until 11 a.m., the Merrimack Rotary Club Pancake Breakfast will be held here in Merrimack at the high school. From 12 noon until 9 p.m., the Merrimack Rotary Independence Day celebration will be held at the Mastrocola School Fields. At 1 p.m., the Independence Day parade begins at 515 DW Highway and ends at the high school. And at approximately 9 p.m., the annual fireworks display will occur. Next is we have a regular council meeting on Thursday, July 19th and Thursday, August 16th at 7 p.m., both dates here in the Matthew Thornton Room. Paul, do you have anything? Oh, and by the way, Eileen Cavanaugh, the town manager, is excused from tonight's meeting.
And Mr. Boyd.
And Councilor Boyd is as well. I had forgotten that. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Summer Reading Challenge, Library Rocks, has begun for all ages, infants, kids, teens, and adults. Avoid the dreaded summer slump and read to win raffle prizes. Sign up on the library's website and track the hours or books read on the Beanstack app. The Parks and Rec Department invites you to join everybody for the 4th of July celebration, but when you're done with that, on Friday, July 13th, for their free movie night in the park, which will be held at Abbey Griffin Park. We'll be showing the movie Back to the Future, which will begin at 8:30. Free popcorn will be given away to all attendees. And if you would, Mr. Chair, I'd like to read a memo that we received today regarding Wilson Hill Road culvert. Repair of the culvert on the Wilson Hill Road that carries an unnamed brook north of Wilson Hill Road is scheduled to begin work the week of July 23rd. The embankment on both sides of the road has been eroding. As a result, the guardrail severely leaning towards the road, from the road. The erosion is causing voids at the edge of the pavement. The condition is being monitored daily. Emergency measures have been put into place should they be required. Due to the depth of the culvert and the amount of road work that will need to be done, the road will be need to close to all vehicle traffic for the week of July 23rd, Monday through Friday, and the project is anticipated to take approximately 2 weeks to complete. Work in the area is anticipated to start before July 23rd and can continue through July 27th. Traffic is anticipated to be altering one way during the day and will be open at night outside of the 5-day completion work. For 1 week, for the 1 week of shutdowns, the residents in the area will need to seek alternate routes. We will also issue a press release and put information on the website and on the DPW Facebook page. Additionally, we have contacted Amex Public Works and let them know of the upcoming closures as well. So that is in the area of Wilson Hill Road by Souhegan Golf Course out towards the town line there. One of the metal culverts that, similar to Amherst Road and DW Highway, that have began to deteriorate and cause these issues. So we'll be replacing that. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is PFAS update. And Nancy has an update from the
From the summit.
summit that was held on Monday and Tuesday.
Okay, actually, there are five quick items, literally. It's going to be very short. First of all, Barbara Healy, myself, Eileen Cabanal, Sarita Croce, who is the Assistant Director of DPW Department Wastewater, Phil Appert, who is the Wastewater Pretreatment Manager, 2 MVD reps, and concerned citizen representatives attended. It was Monday evening and Tuesday, all day. To me, it was very informative. The states that were represented giving information to the EPA Region 1 was New York, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Maine, Vermont, and New Hampshire. So Tuesday was primarily for community groups to be able to present information, opinions to the people at EPA. That is when Barbara and I read the testimony that was authorized by the group. One of the things I would like to do is be able to post that testimony on the website under the PFAS so that the public is aware of what was said for the town council.
Sure.
Lots of information was presented to help generate development of the federal standard for PFOS. They're asking that declare PFOS a hazardous substance. New York has done so. As a result, they've been able to acquire more resources and money. So that's one of the considerations, the requests that were made of the region to be able to make it a federal standard. Each state presented their state's experiences, which were really interesting, with PFOS contamination, including the remediation activities, as well as their communication with the public. Our media department videotaped all 5 hours of the summit, and it is being, I believe it's probably already on there now. And thank you, Justin. Thank you, Justin. He was the one who sat there and taped the whole thing. I believe we're the only community who did that, which is great. For the public, I'm going to give you 2 sites where you can go and have access. The first is YouTube, youtube.com/MerrimackTV, or you can go directly to www.merrimacktv.com. And the whole 5 hours is there so that the public will know exactly what was presented. Sarita, who is the Assistant Director for Public Works, who I'm saying is brilliant. The more I spoke with her for 2 days, she is by education a chemical engineer. And all of this makes perfect sense to her. And she was helping me. She was interpreting things to me. She was reviewing the 800-page report from the CDC, and she quickly perused it. So she had some opinions about that already. So as I mentioned, I sent out an email to the town council. Sarita did a summary, and I would like to be able to have that put on the website as well, because I think it summarizes what occurred during the summit, and I think that should be made public as well.
Yep.
But I can't say enough about how bright she is, and we have to be able to use her in the public. I'm sorry, in the future, to be able to help us understand the kinds of things that are going on. So that's my second request. I already talked about the testimony, and that will be presented to the public as well. So that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Nancy. Peter.
Thank you for attending.
Just on the PFA's update,
Thank you.
I attended a meeting Tuesday night with the PFA's Joint Advisory Committee, as well as MVD Commissioner Don Provencher. And we met for about an hour and a half, and it was a very productive meeting. It was a very thoughtful meeting, and there were some questions that arose from the group that I am submitting to the town manager to see if she can find an answer for me. All in all, it was just a good meeting, and I just wanted to put out there that I had attended. Bill was on vacation and couldn't attend.
Thank you, Peter. All right. Next item on the agenda is the highway garage update. Do you want me to speak to that, or would you like to speak to that?
I got one.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Council Chair. The highway garage is progressing pretty rapidly right now. The site work for the project is well underway, and the construction of the new building has begun. Contract reinforcing steel for the footings were installed earlier this week, and the steel and concrete for the walls is being constructed currently, going on to next week. The structural steel for the frame of the garage building area has been delivered and is on site and is waiting to be erected once the concrete cures. That should be around July 16th. The work on the administration portion of the building, which is a stick frame portion rather than steel, is scheduled to begin the week of July 9th. The project remains on schedule, and we expect that the staff will be moved into the new facility by Thanksgiving.
Good. Thank you, Paul. All right. Nothing further on that. Then next on the agenda is comments from the press and public. If you'd like to address the council, you can either use this microphone here or the one at the table. And please go ahead, Wendy, and have a seat. But I'm going to actually we've had rules on our public participation for years, and honestly, I had forgotten them, all but one thing. I knew it was supposed to be a 3-minute, you may sit down if you like, a 3-minute piece, and I knew that, but there was more to it. So I'm just going to touch on, and I'd like to ease into these a little bit if we could, because our meetings get consumed by it, which it's important stuff, but we have a second alternate bite at the apple, if you will, at the end of the meeting is also. But so just real quick, the rules for our public participation is that 15 minutes will be designated at the beginning of the regular meetings for public to address the council under the agenda items listed as public participation. Members of the public wishing to speak shall identify themselves by name and address. The topics of discussion shall be pertinent to the agenda of items. Members of the public may speak only once during the segment. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes maximum per speaker unless the chair extends. And again, I'd like to ease into this. So anyone who wishes to speak but is unable to due to the expiration of the 15 minutes is encouraged to speak at public participation at the end of this segment. And so, again, the 15-minute part, I don't know that that's something I'd like to do, but I'd like people's comments to be a bit more concise if we could, just because the people later in the agenda get put off for a good time. And also, the last thing is comments by the council. If you're eliciting comment from council members, they're not supposed to respond. If they choose to, they can. But if it's more of a public comment period, and that's what we'd like to try and focus on. Nope, thank you. All right, thank you, Wendy.
No, you're welcome. Okay, Wendy Thomas, 10 Wildcat Falls. The first thing I want to do is read the testimony that I sent to the summit meeting. I wasn't able to go, but I sent it, and it will be put on the website that they have. When my 6 kids were little and they were diagnosed with chronic Lyme disease and autoimmune issues, I worked with our doctor to do everything I could to help them manage their illness. Along with their medications, I made sure they got quality sleep, plenty of sun, exercise, ate clean food, and drank a lot of water. That's what moms do. We look out for and we protect our kids. We have a well, and so I assumed that my family was drinking clean, pure, good New Hampshire water. Imagine my dismay and abject anger to find out that while I was doing everything in my power to help my kids heal, St. Gobain was dumping chemicals in our water that may have made my kids sicker or that may have interfered with their healing. That's the first statement. The second one, that is very short. The EPA report that I told you about the last time I was here has been released. Conducted by the Department of Health and Human Services, the report is highly concerning. The study shows that the chemicals known as PFOA and PFOS are dangerous to humans in much smaller quantities than the Environmental Protection Agency had previously said. The report states that the upper limit for PFOAs is not 70, like what we have in New Hampshire, or 20, like Vermont has, and it's not 14, like in New Jersey or Minnesota. In the government-sponsored report, the suggested safe value for PFOAs in drinking water is 11. 11. Our well, which is located 3.5 miles away, tested at 45 parts per trillion. We have water in Merrimack that is testing over 2,700 parts per trillion. When are our elected officials, the town of Merrimack, and the state of New Hampshire going to say that enough is enough? Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy.
Hi, Nancy Murphy, 20 Brenda Lane. Just a couple of things I wanted to sort of give an update of the last couple of weeks. I'm part of Merrimack Citizens for Clean Water, and on June 23rd, I sort of oversaw a PFAS pollution protest on Daniel Webster Highway with the intention to raise awareness and sort of call attention to the ongoing problem of our town, which is the contamination of our air, water, and soil. It was pretty well attended. There were about 40 people. It was a lot of media attention, and I believe it's probably not going to be the last one. On the Monday and Tuesday, like you guys, I attended, along with a number of members of our Citizens for Clean Water group, the EPA PFAS community engagement event in Exeter, and was fortunate to have the opportunity to speak in the public comment section. And I really want to thank Merrimack for having that entire thing taped. I watched it today. It's up on YouTube, and it's phenomenal. I also wanted to thank each of you, because it was so nice to see. I really believe that Merrimack was the only town that had local representation. We had our local town council and MVD, wastewater management, and a lot of Merrimack Citizens for Clean Water. I believe we were the largest group of attendees from any town. So when residents want to know what are we doing, that there is a united front. We're all on the same page. We're all asking for the same things. So thank you for that. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being there for us. And thank you for Justin taping. That's a huge opportunity for everybody in town to see. The other thing that I just wanted to mention is one of the things that I notice on the forums is people asking about blood testing. That was one of the things that I mentioned in my public comment session, but additionally, I meet with Lisa Morris sort of randomly. We have meetings every once in a while, and Dr. Ben Chan, and for about the last year, have been specifically asking for access to blood testing and a health study for Merrimack. And I've been told, with every time I see the Department of Public Health, that they're working on it. Yet we know we're working on it, and it should be happening by the spring. So I followed up in the spring, and I got a letter that wasn't quite responsive, and I happened to get a response the day of the EPA summit while I was sitting in my seat at 4:17. Fortunately, Lisa Morris, who's the Director of Public Health, was the one who wrote it to me, and she was there. So we had a few discussions over on Monday as well as Tuesday. The decision has been made by the Department of Health and Human Services, despite being told that they were working on it. And then we said, okay, we understand if our state government can't afford the testing, but at least get us access so we can use our own private health insurance. And in the end of the email says, in reviewing the core functions of public health mentioned above and our belief that the need for medical monitoring is best served by the relationship between a patient and their health care provider, we have decided not to offer PFAS blood testing at this time. I followed up with her and the toxicologist that's been hired for her office to ask about a grant that I was aware of that purchased biomonitoring equipment for Department of Health and Human Services, which actually gives them the availability to do the testing themselves. Unfortunately, I believe it was purchased, and through I think what the state government is, it's purchased by, and I believe it was about substance use, and so it was earmarked for that. The staff is earmarked through that, so it can't be used for anything else. So just my plan is to, after speaking with them, is to talk to the governor and ask. PEAS has over 2,000 blood tests, and we had 217. Mm-hmm. So that's it. I think we deserve a little better attention in Merrimack. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. All set? All right. If nobody further, thank you very much. All right. Next on the agenda is recognitions, resignations, retirements, nothing under appointments. The council's to have a presentation of our annual review of the Agricultural Commission pursuant to Charter Section 6-6. At least annually, there should be an annual review with the Agricultural Commission, and the agenda is to highlight the Commission's significant actions, current projects, anticipated actions, and to raise any concerns the council should know about or could act upon. And this evening, we have Bob McCabe and Don Miner here.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Used to be Mrs. Chair, but that's good.
We couldn't get her to do it again. We tried.
Good evening. I want to start off by saying we started the winter of 2018 with another busy year for the Merrimack Ag Commission. We did a lot of courses for licensing, not licensing, for continuing education to be able to offer more information to the public for agriculture. This for cleaning vegetables and stuff. There's new standards coming down from the state to stay in compliance. Also, during the colder months, we review and update the rules and regulations of the summer market and the community garden. We did some mailings to potential vendors and returning vendors from New Hampshire. Every month we have a meeting, second Wednesday here in this room. We talk about many subjects of agriculture. We share the interests of classes available through the UNH Extension services throughout the year. We also make ourselves available to the public. We have a lot of stuff that we're trying to do, such as scholarships, help some 4-H'ers if they have any more 4-H'ers in town. That's the first choice, obviously. Department of, I'm horrible at reading off of a paper. I usually like to spit it off the top of my head. Department of Agriculture, we work with them with the Natural Resources Conservation. We try to work with as many farmers. I know I bump into a lot of farmers at like Jack Supply and such and help them out with what I know. And same thing with Bob. We opened the community garden the first week of May. Ron Miner III did a video. It should be on the Merrimack TV, right?
That's correct.
On the filming the entire opening of the garden. What we have to do as far as rototilling and liming and so forth. We plan on doing more stuff like that with the help of Justin with the summer farmers market, and maybe do some more episodes, you know, as the year goes on. Other things we do. We sold 52 garden plots at the community garden up at Wasserman. We still have some more available if anybody's interested.
How many more available? How many more were available, did you say?
There's 90 good ones. We've sold about 55, 60 right now, because at this print we were at 52, more or less. There's some ledge concerns over there, but there's plenty of garden plots if anybody's interested.
Sure. The summer market opened June 13th. We're running it through October 10th. Then we will kick it back into the winter market. We would like to thank the Morgan family for the generosity and hospitality to host us over there for the summer.
Sorry about the phone.
It's all right.
You would have.
Sorry. We'd like to. The purpose of this is to help support local farmers and vendors to be able to sell their wares. It's every Wednesday at the Vault Motor Storage. It's a little advertisement plug. We also have been supporting a lot of the 4-H kids in town here. We donate some money to the 4-H cooperative for the Hillsborough County for Merrimack. If there's any more kids that actually have or want to participate in 4-H, then they can contact us. We can put them in line with the appropriate people. We donated. It's about 3 years now. We've been donating to the Hillsborough County Fair in New Boston. We do gift cards for Blue Seal for the first place winners. A lot of people from Merrimack do participate in that, so it's just to encourage them for participating in agriculture. They get a ribbon, but we want to give them a little extra for their efforts. We're looking to do some financial support for people going to school in town. If they're going to college, we want to help them with some small scholarships. We've got a couple right now that we do help right now. Looking for more if we can. We're always looking for more members. We have, what do we have, 5? Bob?
5
Yeah,
full-time.
5 full-time, and we got an alternate. But we're always looking for more people that want to come in and join us on every second Tuesday, second Wednesday of the month. That's about it for that. Short and sweet. Any
Anybody have
questions?
any questions? Peter?
You guys say putting on some, you did some classes or
Peter.
some, sorry about that. You put on some classes and stuff for folks on various agricultural topics?
We didn't really do we participated in classes so that we can then get the information, workshops, I'm sorry, I conveyed that wrong.
There's a program on now, Farm Modernization Safety Act. It's a federal program. I took 2 portions of it to become a trainer for local farmers if there's a need. It's more of a safety program that the feds are coming down with us now. And there's a lot of concerns, how we raise our crops, how we grow our animals, how we clean them and prepare them for sale. Large and small farms all will have a need to pay attention to this. And we're just getting ahead of the curve so that we're not behind anything, and when time comes that everybody needs to be.
As you guys are in front of me, I just thought it's kind of, you talked about the use of cable TV, I think, Merrimack Cable TV, and just a thought is, I notice a lot of my friends in their gardens are getting decimated by possums, woodchucks, and everything else. Maybe you guys want to do an episode on how to curtail that activity or something, you know? So,
Well, Lieutenant, you should be an expert on that.
Yeah.
We currently we caught 3 in a Havahart trap right at the Wasserman Garden this year, and I took them to Amherst politely. Let them go. At my house, I just caught a possum, which was unusual in a vegetable garden situation. You wouldn't normally see that, but it just happened to be. There's a lot of woodchucks this year, as well as turkeys, as well as white-tailed deer, and even people stepping on stuff and breaking stuff. And it's always when the crop is coming in, like the broccoli's coming in, the tomatoes are coming in. The deer at my house, they're eating the leaves off the tomato plants. Who knows, you know? But we have licenses too. We have a supervisory license we have to keep up too. So we're constantly going back to school, even at our age. It never ends. So.
Thanks.
Good. Tom?
So, a couple questions. Cost for the garden plots. How much is the cost?
10 by 10 plot is $10 to a resident, $15 to a non-resident.
Okay,
10
excellent.
by 10 foot.
And then you guys talked about scholarships, and you give back to, you know, kids
We
going
would
to
like to
school.
offer some kind of incentive to an ag major or environmental major. It could be a tech school, could be a college, even to buy books for them,
Okay.
if they're in need. If there was a family in need in this town, an animal was sick, we'd like to help.
Okay, excellent. No, that's really good for you guys to do that. But thank you.
Tom? Koenig?
So talk about the plots a little more. You still have some available. Is it too late to be starting a garden at this point?
Not
or-
really. I rotivated back in May, beginning of May. I mean, some of the weeds are this high now, an unintended plot. But if you're a conscious gardener, you're going to get on your hands and knees, pull them out, roots and all, and you have fresh soil beneath that. It's perfectly doable. People are still calling me and signing up. They have to fill out an application. We can gladly email the application process to them. Send the check in, process the check through finance, and we actually issue them a number. All the garden plots are numbered. The 4 corners are in red flags. The center flag is a white flag with a number on it. There's their date, their plot number. And there is plenty of good land left over there. We've been doing this 10-plus years now.
Do you do anything to assist people specifically, or
We-
you just give them a space that they can go do whatever?
Well, I think the preparation is assistance enough, but we encourage them to garden. People living in a place where they have no room and they want to get a green thumb, it's great therapy. They get something in return. We would offer it at no charge to any nonprofit. The Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, they've all been there over the years. Sometimes they don't come back, that's their choice. We have 2 plots right now that are going to the veterans in Manchester. The produce from those 2 plots go to veterans. from another gardener who delivers them, when they come due.
Okay.
Which is very nice of him to do that. So, we soil test each year. The ground is near perfect. I think we had 6.2, 6.3 soil pH this year. We have water, no hoses. They have to water by hand. Not impossible.
For a 10 by 10 spot, it
Right.
shouldn't be
Or
too terribly
more-
difficult.
Some people
yeah.
take 4 or 6 plots.
Oh,
We have seasoned gardeners every year. They stand in line to get back to us. 'Cause at the winter market this year, we rented a table from Don, and was it March 21st or so. People were signing up that early. They wanted to get back into it.
sounds
So,
good.
and they can always call me or us, ask questions. We give them information that UNH feeds us. We tell them what bugs are coming around, when they're coming. We tried the best we could do with the woodchucks, but the woodchucks are still there every year. Anyway,
We did a seed swap too, this over the winter too.
That's correct.
So if someone wants to come down and pick something up, that you don't have to leave anything, you can just come down and swap some stuff out or. pick some stuff
Information's
up.
available.
Information.
And that's done at the community garden? Or is
Seed
that,
swap was March 21st at the first sign up at the winter market.
Yeah, we did it
Oh,
at
it's
the
a
winter
winter
market,
market.
kind of conjoined.
which was at the Adult Community Center?
Yeah, we
Correct.
did it at the seed, yeah.
Okay.
over there.
I'm
Yeah,
just
no,
trying to get some
I just thought of it.
positive
I just
information
thought-
out
yeah.
so people can.
We had a delay twice because we had 2 snowstorms. The first week in March was
Yeah.
a snowstorm.
Ouch.
The
Yeah.
second week was a snowstorm. We finally got there, I think, the 21st. I believe that's
Yeah,
Thursday.
21st.
So,
Very good.
It's good to see our old friends come back. We had one of our real veteran gardeners retire and move to Florida this year. We lost a good man. He donated all his tools, all his extra seeds to the garden. Left it
nice.
there for everybody
Very
to
nice.
take whatever they needed.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
I saw your new sign
Mhm.
past couple of weeks. As far as location, would it be better to put it, earlier in the week out as opposed to just Wednesday right at the spot? Would it be better to put it coming in?
Charlie
weekly?
requested, Mr. Chairman, that we only use it on Wednesday, so we don't get.
Charlie,
Charlie Morgan.
Are we talking about the illuminated sign, or what sign are we talking about?
no, there was the trailer sign.
Yeah,
The
that's
lit sign.
Right.
Yeah.
Was
The
that what you're
LED
talking-
sign, yeah.
Yeah, but no, not on his property. I meant down the road so people know the market's coming up on Wednesday.
The batteries need to be exfoliated and redone, so we have to plug it into an AC current right now. So we need a plug.
Oh, okay,
It's not a remote yet.
okay.
So once we do some renovations, we'll come back and talk to you about maybe parking on some town property here and there.
We
Okay.
did
In the
run this
future.
through planning board a year and a half ago, and at the Morgan facility.
Right.
And it was, we did it the right way.
Yep, no, good. I think you're allowed 90 days by our rules or whatever, but when you're only doing it once a week, it would
I
take
think
you
we're all
a
the same
few years.
family here, so I don't
Yeah.
think it was an issue.
So, no, good. When you can move it to a different location, I think it might be better, so people will have a couple days' notice that
Yeah.
it's coming up.
One week we'll put on the north entrance, the other week we'll put
Yeah.
on the south entrance. It shines better in the north entrance, though. It's more illuminated, based on the sun,
Yeah.
for some reason.
Yeah.
Like the last 2 weeks, we had strawberries, so we were advertising strawberries,
Yep.
fresh strawberries coming in.
Perfect. Cool.
Every week it'll change.
Very good. Everybody all set? Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
This evening, there's no public hearings, legislative updates from our state representatives. Seeing none.
Seeing none.
Town manager report. Do you have anything, Paul?
Matter of fact, I do, thank you. Well, just to reiterate, the Merrimack's Media Division recorded the Environmental Protection Agency's Community Engagement Event in Exeter. The 10-hour event is a 4-part series and can be viewed on Merrimack TV throughout the weekend and is available online at merrimacktv.com or on Merrimack TV's YouTube channel.
That's it? All right. All right, no consent agenda under old business. Item number 1, the council to consider the disposal of tax deeded properties pursuant to RSA 80:88, 80:89, 80:90, and Chapter 66 of the Town Code. Paul, did you want to speak to this, or?
Basically, we took a parcel over during the tax deeding process, and We,
Excuse me, Paul, sorry. Should we remove it from the table? Would somebody move to remove it from the table? It was tabled at our last meeting. Anyone?
Move to remove from the table.
Bueller?
Second.
Motion by Tom Kennedy, seconded by Nancy. All those in favor of removing from the table, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain. 6-0-0. Thank you, Paul.
sorry, Mr. Chair. Basically, the town took over a parcel of land for somebody who hadn't paid his taxes in 3 years. I know the council knows this, but I want to give the information out to the public, is that we do every effort to reach out to the people who own the parcel, whereas it's sending certified letters or sending our police officers to the property to let them know that their property could be potentially taken over for tax deeded purposes. In this case, unfortunately, the property did get taken over by the town of Merrimack, and the town council had accepted to take this property over. We come before you tonight to ask for us to sell this piece of property and put it up for sale.
Okay. Should we speak to the methodology, what the plan, what we'd like to shoot for?
Yeah.
All right, what we have is the owner, the previous owner of the property had come to the town manager and spoke about a desire, he had a buyer and spoke of a desire to sell the property with a closing date. Because the town had already taken the property, we had to come up with an agreement that this gentleman has agreed to, and so that when his property will be sold, and we're going to give him the property so it can be sold, and upon completion of the transfer or the town's costs will be covered by this seller, the town will be made whole, and he'll be able to maximize the sale of his property as opposed to going to an auction, which I would rather not do, and we'd like to be able to get him so he can be in a better position. So, Tom.
Yeah, I just want to add or amplify on that a little bit, that the previous owner always has the first right of refusal to redeem the house. They have to pay certain fees and expenses and town legal fees and whatnot in order to do that. But they have a minimum of 30 days at which they can come back to the town and say they want to pay all that up and redeem the property. This guy is in that situation, so it's not like we're doing anything special for him. He has an absolute right to redeem it, and there's an obvious and fixed cost that's all legally defined in the laws. So we're just agreeing to do it and to work with him to facilitate his being able to pay his bills. And as you said, it's a win-win because he's going to get more money than he would get if we sent it at auction, because we only can keep from that auction the amount of money that the town has expended or is due, and all the rest of it would go back to the previous owner in any case. So it's not like we're losing money by letting him have it back or something like that. It's a win-win because he's likely to get more money out of it than he would have otherwise. And so we're just agreeing to go forward with that program to work it out with him.
Someone have a motion? Move to approve the terms of the repurpose agreement between the town of Merrimack and the prior owner concerning properties that was tax deeded by the town and located at 33 Pearson Road, and to authorize the town manager or her designee to execute the agreement on behalf of the town.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Thornton, seconded by Nancy. Tom, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, I think we
Okay.
beat it up a little bit.
All
Very
right.
good. Thanks.
No further discussion. I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. 6-0-0. Thank you very much. Okay, item number 1 under new business. The council is to be presented with a review of the New Hampshire 101A widening project, which was initiated in 2010 and presented at a public informational meeting in July of 2015. The project also includes an agreement for an intersection improvements at Boston Post Road and Craftsman Lane. And here this evening to present to us is Jennifer Rexick. Say? Rezick, okay. I should have checked with you before we began. I apologize.
know what you need to do to get it sent up to the projector?
I guess not.
Can we get help with that?
Is your machine on?
What does she need to do to,
Like, actually get it.
It just takes a second for the projector to turn
Oh, it's on.
Oh.
That's all.
okay, thank you.
I didn't know it was on.
Friendly with house, yeah.
Paul, that's my go-to.
Mr. Technology.
I can do it, but it might take us extra time to do it.
That didn't look good. There we go.
Yep, perfect. Thank you.
There you go.
All right, there we go. Thank you.
Yeah, cooking with gas.
So, as you mentioned, I'm the project manager from the Department of,
Can you pull the mic closer, because we really can't hear you?
can you hear me? Is that
Not-
better?
not real
No?
well.
Is it on?
It is on.
It is on, okay.
Okay. I'm the,
Perfect.
there we go. The Department of Transportation's project manager for this project. I came on board about a year and a half ago. As noted, this project actually started back in 2010 under the previous project manager. So the last time we were out, we had a public informational meeting in 2015. The project has not changed very much since then, but I wanted to come out as we're now beginning and kind of refresh everyone's memory, as you may not have been present at the, on the council at that time. So I'm going to give a little history. The initial corridor work for 101A was initially proposed as a bypass back in 1985. So we've been looking at this corridor for quite a while. The bypass option was abandoned, and we did an updated corridor study in 2002 to look at improvements to the existing roadway as opposed to a bypass. That corridor study came out with a whole host of recommendations between Milford and Nashua, largely to improve the operational capacity of the highway. And this project in Merrimack was added into the 10-year plan in the 2015-2024 10-year plan. And it was originally out in fiscal year 24 for construction. The big corridor needs, again, that were identified: capacity deficiencies throughout the corridor, poor pedestrian accommodations, and particular to this location in Merrimack, that Craftsman Lane is used as a bypass through residential areas to bypass traffic lights on 101A, and that was a safety concern that was identified. So previously, we have a consultant that has carried it through alternatives analysis. The preferred recommendation or preferred alternative was presented in 2015, and at that point, things, for some reason, kind of came to a pause. So we're picking up and carrying forward. So one of the action items from the corridor study, action item 22, was widening 101A from Boston Post Road to Continental Boulevard to add the third eastbound through lane. There are currently 3 westbound through lanes, so this would give an equal number of lanes in each direction. It also addresses some of the capacity problems at the Continental Boulevard intersection. Currently, there's 1 right turn lane from Continental Boulevard onto 101A westbound. This project would add a second right turn lane at that intersection. It would also add a dedicated right turn lane from 101A westbound onto Continental Boulevard that currently does not exist today. So those are the major operational improvements for the roadway. As part of that, we also have a new stormwater treatment permit, the MS4 permit, that comes into effect in 2020. Because we'll be advertising this project after that date, we need to address that permit that requires treatment of all water that falls on new or improved impervious surfaces. So in this case, we have a color plan over here against the wall. So the areas shown in yellow are the roadway sections that would be improved. And then along the yellow, there are shoulders and sidewalks shown. So those areas, we need to treat all of the stormwater that falls on those. So that's a change since we were here in 2015. The preliminary work that we've done to quantify that amount of flow and to find locations where we can treat it are shown in the blue areas. Those are not indicated to be actual water. The methods are designed to hold water anywhere between 24 and 48 hours, and then it will be dry after that. So we're showing it in blue, but it's not actual open water. The next action item that we're addressing as part of this project was a concern about sidewalk connectivity between the Turnpike in Nashua to Boston Post Road. Obviously, on this section of the roadway, there are existing sidewalks from the Nashua Town Line to Continental Boulevard on both sides of the road, and there's an existing sidewalk from Continental Boulevard west to Boston Post Road on the westbound side, so the north side of the road. This project is proposing to add the segment of sidewalk between Continental Boulevard and Boston Post Road, or the driveway across from Boston Post Road on the south side or the eastbound side, along with that third lane. We are also keeping a widened shoulder through the intersection at Continental Boulevard for cyclists. So often at the intersections, the roadway shoulder will be used for a turn lane or kind of come around the corner. So we are keeping that widened area through the intersection for cyclist accommodations on that westbound side.
Jennifer?
Sure.
The crosswalk on New Hampshire 101A Continental Boulevard, is that going to be controlled by a electronic signal button?
Yes.
And you don't feel that that's going to, I understand the need for when you put in a crosswalk, but you don't think that's going to mess up the traffic, especially at rush hour and so forth?
It does have the potential to, and there are different ways to phase it. There's the on-demand, or you can incorporate that into your phasing. We haven't gotten to the point where we've really dug into the signal timing. We've had discussions about tying into the Nashua system and trying to time all of those to work together. It does, if we're providing the crosswalk, because of the nature of the roadway, 3-lane roadway, we really need to provide that dedicated pedestrian signal. So it's not the most convenient necessarily, but for the safety, there aren't a lot of crossings in this segment. I know some people have expressed interest in seeing more crossings, which is not what we're proposing right now. We're just proposing the Continental Boulevard, but it does provide that safe crossing.
And I look at that intersection as one of the busiest around. And I mean, I know you got to have it. I'm like, is there other alternatives or another location, possibly farther away in each direction? I don't know, but I just see, having experienced that intersection at rush hour, and people coming and going, and you may have the employees from PC Connection going for walks and so forth. I just could see a real delay in traffic, especially at rush hour. So really need some looking at on that.
And then the last action item that we're proposing as part of this project addresses the Craftsman Lane, Boston Post Road intersection. So that's the segment just off of 101A to the north. Right now, it's sort of a Y intersection, and cars can come off westbound off of 101A and come up and bypass the lights. And so what we're proposing there is to create a 90-degree intersection at Boston Post Road and close the entrance into the church parking lot from Craftsman Lane. That would make all of the access into the church from Boston Post Road and eliminate that ability of people to cut through the parking lot to avoid having to come down to the new intersection. As part of that project or process, we're also looking to discontinue the existing public right-of-way that's through the middle of the church parking lot. to do sort of a land swap with them that would need to be coordinated with the town. And I can, does this one travel?
Yeah, you can grab that.
So the church itself is here, and then the church owns this triangular property. This area right here is actually town right-of-way. And so they've got parking on this side and parking here. And what we're proposing to do by modifying this intersection would be to take this land for the town road as town right-of-way and turn this area back over to the church so that their property is contiguous and the town property is here.
And the church, I suspect, has been part of that conversation already?
Yes, I know there were discussions in the past. We spoke with them prior to this meeting and reviewed the existing plan with them. Let me see what else I have here. So as part of our coordination going forward, we've got the new consultant contract approved, so we're working on the new design. We've reevaluated some of those environmental impacts that I mentioned. So the next stage is to hold a public hearing, and that gives the department the ability to acquire right-of-way as needed for the project. So after that process, we would start working with the church in particular on the details of how does that work. We discussed some of the design elements, so there are modifications that we can make to the configuration based on their preference for the drive access. What we're showing is not necessarily the final configuration. We can work with them on which piece of the existing town right-of-way gets discontinued. We were looking at one of the stormwater treatment areas and looking to maybe move that to the opposite side of the intersection to where we would be removing the end of Craftsman Lane. So that's a dialogue that we'll continue to have with them as we move forward. So that right-of-way process would continue after what we hope to be a September hearing. And then we're scheduled right now to advertise in the fall of 2020, with construction occurring in 21 and 22. Obviously, traffic control out in this area will be a challenge. We haven't delved into the details of that, but we're expecting maybe a longer than absolutely necessary construction to make sure that we have the operational capacity that we need throughout the process. We don't want to cut back on the lanes and create a lot of tie-up. So things may take more phasing than like optimum, but to kind of keep cars moving out there. Right now, our construction cost is estimated at $4.1 million, and that's about on par for what we expected.
I thought I saw 6.3, I don't know.
The 6.3 may have been in the agreement. So the the total project cost includes the right-of-way and PE expenditures, and the 10-year plan also includes inflation in it.
Okay.
So that's sort of the public and legislatively approved amount, but that doesn't necessarily dictate the final costs.
Right. Oh, perfect, thank you.
So,
Paul, I don't know if it was important right now, but if it is.
It's about the church.
okay, sure, go ahead.
Dawn met with the church, and actually, two of the church members were here. Would it be possible if you can make contact with them and actually go and do this presentation to their board of directors before the public hearing, so they can see what's going on? Because the two church members that were here didn't want to talk for the whole church or their board of directors or their pastor, and they would like them to actually see this presentation and to get, you talked about it, were they in contact? I just wanted to put, that just happened about an hour ago that they asked for that, so.
And that was one of my questions for the board tonight. We can certainly do a presentation for the church. Whether or not you would like to see another public informational meeting for the town prior to that hearing was some of the feedback that I was hoping to get from you this evening.
Sure, right,
I
right.
would certainly think so.
Yeah, I think it would be a good idea. Yeah, I think it would be a really good idea. Before I get started, Tom was up. If I wanted Jennifer to, if you were all set, I wanted you to be able to finish your presentation.
Yes. Yep.
Good, okay. Tom?
So I'm surprised. I had never heard of any of these additional plans that you're talking about. I hope you're talking to our Department of Public Works
Yes.
as well as the church. And, I
Yes.
mean, you're talking about bartering town right-of-way back and forth and stuff
Yes.
like that. It just surprises me that that's just coming here now. So I guess I'm not sure where all that came from or what your purpose is. I recall there was some discussion. I've seen about 500 or 1,000 flags out there in that area, assuming that's what you're preparing to look at and stuff. But the scope of this is certainly different than what I had thought was going on. And it's good to hear about it now as opposed to later, but it seems like this is late.
It's fair, well, so that preliminary work that was done, that was done under another project manager. I don't know if they had other town council meetings or not. I know there was the public meeting in July of 2015 that presented the same concept. So,
Including Craftsman Lane? And
correct. And there were discussions at that time. And so as we're beginning to bring the project back to life and to continue what we call the final design stages, that's why we're coming out now, because we realized it had been quite some time since we'd been out. And as we're beginning this process, thought it would be a good idea to bring you up to speed. I did meet with the DPW, I believe it was in May, that we sat down to discuss whether they had any concerns, if there was anything that any information I did not have from the previous discussions when the other project manager was working on it. So we had talked about it, and that's sort of what's brought us here tonight.
Well, I would like to suggest that maybe the planning board in Merrimack ought to be kept up to speed on what you're planning as well, just because you're dealing with roads and properties that they've been dealing with in the past. So that might be another presentation to make.
Okay.
I know that Kyle was involved because I sit on the Highway Safety Committee, and because my son now lives in the south end of town, I drive down Boston Post Road, and I know the bypass that Jennifer spoke about. People, when the light's changing, they'll do the detour through Craftsman Lane, and Boston Post Road truly seems to be more of the the main thoroughfare. And so I had wanted to present this to the Highway Committee, and Kyle told me not to worry because he had known that this presentation was coming forward. So he did know. I don't know how
that's
early
good.
he knew. But so, Nancy, I think you were, Tom?
Do have a quick question. So its estimated time frame is 2021 and 2022?
The actual construction would be 21 and 22.
Okay, so I think we have something else going on in 2022 as well, which is the widening Route 3, which is it's a huge project. So my concerns are there's a lot of construction going to be happening on the highway, and is that going to draw traffic down towards off Continental going that way and causing more construction, more traffic, headaches and whatnot? So
that is something that we look at as we get closer to advertising. I know with the most recent 10-year plan process, there have been a lot of projects moving around, and so once that gets signed into law, that's something that we'll have to look at and evaluate. This project has been on the books for quite some time, and so that is something that we'll have to look at to make sure that there are reasonable detours or alternatives for traffic.
Peter?
Go ahead.
Question for you. In the agreement, there's wording that appears several times, and I'm not sure if you covered this in your presentation or not, but it talks about improvements to the intersections. And what are the improvements exactly?
So are you referencing, let's see, when we talk about improvements to the intersection of Craftsman Lane and Boston Post Road?
Yeah.
So that's the reconfiguration that I discussed.
This one here?
Yes.
With the property that the town would give to the church and vice versa?
Yes, with the property swap and the reconfiguration of that intersection. So the agreement that I had sent ahead of time, as we've kind of brought this project back, one of the things that I realized that I can't find record that we have any agreement with the town for us to do the work on the town road. And so that's the other piece of coming tonight, is to at least initiate that discussion, because we don't really have any authority to do any of this unless you give it
Well,
to us.
that was my next question, as being the new kid here. Did we agree to any of this? Because you guys
No,
are
we
looking
haven't.
surprised.
We haven't. Well, I knew the presentation was coming, and I knew that the work was going to be happening, but we haven't had a discussion on the agreement and so on. With that or any of the other components, because I do have a couple questions myself.
Yeah.
But,
And so,
so I don't, there's not been any discussion of the agreement, but, Peter?
And, in your general reviewing of the Craftsman Lane, Boston Post Road area, did you guys look at Craftsman Lane and Severance Bridge Road? Because that's another one of those crazy angled intersections.
a crazy,
Boston Severance Bridge.
Yeah.
Boston Post and Severance Bridge?
Yeah, you
Just-
said Craftsman and Severance Bridge, and they don't come together. So.
I'm sorry?
You said Craftsman and
Well, I
Severance
said,
Bridge.
in the process of looking at that triangular area there,
Yep.
did they go up maybe that extra 100 feet and evaluate that other intersection as well?
as part of this project, we did not. So that the action items that I referenced all came out of that corridor study. As far as I know, that was not an intersection that was addressed as part of the corridor study. So the study was really looking at the operation along 101A and coming up with recommendations for capacity improvements, safety improvements, bicycle and pedestrian accommodations along that corridor. And so I think this intersection was identified because of its relevance to bypassing the lights on 101A and the concerns that that brought up. But we have not continued.
Right, that's
onto
just, it's
other
too far
town
down.
roads.
It's, the only reason they're doing the Craftsman Lane proposal is in fact because of the bypass that you spoke about. Yeah, because otherwise, as bad as Severance Bridge Road is, because it's wrong, there's no way that they would throw it in there. It'd be nice if we could negotiate the property swap with it, maybe.
Hey, if they want to do it, I'm not against it.
Yeah, no, not at all. My question's actually, you spoke in the agreement of maintenance. We now have to assume maintenance responsibilities. 101A, if I'm not mistaken, is a state right-of-way that is maintained by the state. Is that correct?
The 101A is maintained by the state. So if you're referring to this section, let's see.
I had a question.
Well, and the reason, I'll tell you why I'm asking is because I'm assuming the maintenance part, I'm assuming 101A still will be retained by the state, but Craftsman Lane and Boston Post Road will be ours when the construction's complete.
So, correct. Any of the town roads today, Craftsman Lane, Boston Post Road, are the towns now, and they would remain the towns in the future. The one piece that you may be referring to, so the sidewalks, the state, as course of policy, does not maintain sidewalks. So
And you get away with that. Because I've been told we can't get away with that, and that was going to be my follow-up question or comment, is that if we have a segment of sidewalk that the state is putting in that we now have to maintain because we can't decline to do that, we'd rather not. I'm speaking only for myself right now. I'd rather not have a sidewalk because it's, for us to send our piece of equipment all the way to that section of town is burdensome, and if the sidewalk that's on 101A isn't maintained, the connection there just doesn't seem,
So
for
the
us, it's not worth it. It's expensive.
The sidewalks are currently maintained by the town.
On 101A?
Along 101A.
We do send it
They're-
to
Don, if I'm wrong, please come and smack me in the back of the head, but I got a crash course. Yeah, I got the crash course with Kyle and Don earlier today about this, is that there are 3 levels of maintenance on our sidewalks. Schools, in the school zone, priority number 1. Priority number 2 is communities or roadways near shopping centers that people might walk, like to Shaw's or from Walgreens, stuff like that, those kind of areas. That's second, and then the third is the neighborhoods. As long as we have a maintenance plan for our sidewalks, and we follow those maintenance plans for our sidewalks, if we do take this over, these sidewalks, they would be put into those categories, and that would probably be a Category 3, which we get to when we can get to them. It's not going to be a Category 1 because the school, or a Category 2 shopping center. It'd be a Category 3 where it's there. The one thing the council should be aware of that I was told is that if in 20 years the sidewalk's crumbling or there's a hole in the sidewalk, we're responsible then to fix it, even though it's on 101A. If they're repaving 101A, they will not, they might touch the sidewalks, but then they would send the cost back to us to fix, for fixing the sidewalks. That's what I was told in this, is that if there's damage to the sidewalks, we would be responsible for covering the damage. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Right. So, but as long as we have a sidewalk maintenance plan with the 3 levels, that would probably fall into the 3rd level, which is when we can get to it, we can get to it. We have done maintenance out there because I asked Kyle that question earlier today about that. We have done maintenance out there on 101A, I guess, cutting back the brush because of the branches and stuff that come in. And then there is a private sidewalk as well in that area that is owned by the church and is maintained by the church. So there's that private sidewalk that's there because they have a parking lot and they have the people walk on the sidewalk to the church, and that's a private sidewalk. That is not going to be maintained by us, and that was my concern. Because if there's a sidewalk and we have it, then we have to take that sidewalk over, and they have a school there, and that means that it goes to a priority 1, and getting a piece of equipment over there to do that on day of a snowstorm could be tricky.
Yeah.
So, Don, did I miss anything?
You did very good.
Thank you. Crash course.
All right, great. Nancy?
Thank you. Item number 17. As the project is finalized, should the scope of the project result in costs exceeding the amount budgeted, the department and town agree to review the project costs for consideration of additional funding needs and determine the appropriate funding sources. What does that mean?
Some of our projects in some locations have a tendency to creep, we call it scope creep, where we start with one thing and then the next thing you know, we're building 3 times as much stuff, for lack of a better word. So if the project were to increase significantly in cost, that's something that we at the department obviously need to sit down and take a hard look at. And because the town has this segment, we would want to have that discussion with you as well. I do not foresee this being an issue with this particular project. Costs.
I agree and I understand, but this is a contract.
Right.
So are we in fact agreeing with this component to go into negotiations about funding? Probably not inevitable. I understand your intent is very honorable.
The intent is not to necessarily ask the town to fund it, but should we find that the cost is higher than we can afford, would be looking at what things might we be able to remove from the project, whether that's particular items or a segment of roadway.
Could we specify that a little bit more clearly then?
Do you have?
So be modifying, might necessitate modifying of the plan, or that sounded pretty good. Anyway, something like that, which would really indicate to us that it's not monetarily related, it's project modification related, right? Because I think that's fine. But this seems to imply that there might be some monetary.
Yeah, but it doesn't say that the town will be responsible for it. It
I
says the
understand
state and the
that.
town will discuss it.
But I don't want to discuss it.
Well, I don't mind this, we want to know what they're going to be doing and suggesting to modify.
But I'd be willing to discuss the modification of the plan as it related to it.
Yeah.
But I don't want to agree.
It just sounds like we might be part of the funding.
Yeah, and I want to clarify.
Yeah.
And what you're suggesting is that's not your intent.
That is
No,
not the intent.
Clearly, it would not be the
Depending
appropriate
on
funding
the
source.
project and the community, there's another, I think it's in item 10, So again, depending on the community, there are some places where the town desires certain things that are outside the scope or
That
the
makes
intent of
sense.
our project. And so I think 17 sort of lends itself or relates in some ways to 10 based on past experience, where if the town were to request
Sure.
something
That's beyond the scope
that's
that you've
beyond the
got.
scope, that
Yep.
we would ask that they participate on those items.
And that makes perfect sense.
Okay.
And,
So-
but number 17 didn't have that implication.
Would the
That's all.
town like to propose language, or would you like us to revise it and,
Well,
or?
I think if your intent relates to modification of the plan, then that language should be in there. And it just clarifies it more, that's all I'm thinking. Potential modifications of the plan,
Okay.
right? Do you have a,
Paul's ready, so.
Paul's writing something up there.
Okay, Peter, you had something in the meantime?
And the other questions I had were, you already asked.
No, well,
So,
I learned
we were
something
all
again
on the-
tonight. so-
And I was here in 2015, and I don't remember any of this.
I don't
being
recall any of
presented.
it either.
So, now we became very aware of the 10-year proposed plan. So, and in fact, Tom Mahan talked about a little bit more specific. So, we knew about the plan, we knew about various components of it, but we never received a presentation or communication, at least to the council. So, and no one else remembers it either that was here, right?
Right,
Yes.
because I think what I do recall, but the reason I know about it is I believe the Tom Mahon
Right.
commentary.
Because you talked about the tow booths, that whole section, there's a relationship to that.
Yeah. Oh,
As reading this and listening to Councilor Harrington and listening to the state's presentation, what happens if we take, if you look at, as the project is finalized, should the scope of the project result in costs exceeding the amount budgeted, the department and the town agree to review the project? And just put a period there, take costs for consideration of additional funding needs, take all that out. So you agree, we agree that if it's exceeding it, you come back to the table, we work with you.
And talk about the project.
And talk about the project, and not talk about the funding. And
Yeah,
10
there you
stays
go.
on its own. If we
Funding
ask you to do
resources,
something-
right.
If we ask you to do something, it's there.
And I'm thinking we want to say that as well, that if the costs exceed based on requests by the town, then we come back and talk about it.
That's on
Because
seven.
if the
That's
state
already-
exceeds
that's already
it.
number
That's
10.
number 10.
That's number 10.
Okay, yeah, but a 10 does not like 10 either.
Oh, because 10 worked for me, but.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 seems to flow
I'm
from
okay
me.
with 10.
We just changed the date?
To today's,
Sorry, can we just change the date to today's date?
What are you talking about?
It says the information plan dated July 24th, 2015. Because it's been modified, right?
the stormwater treatment has been added, but the,
So, yeah, so if we can do,
Yep.
update and put N whatever, just put both dates if you have to
okay.
on there. I think that's, and modified them.
And revisions shown on this date, today's date.
What,
And I concur with the public. I think there has to be, if we don't remember it,
They're not
no way
going
the
to
public
remember
is
it.
going to remember it.
all right, are we all set then? Tom?
Thanks.
Sorry.
No, well, 14 and 15 are missing from what was given to us.
Yes.
And so I don't even know what the rest of this agreement is about.
It was because it was an 8.5 by 17 or
legal
whatever.
sheet, yeah.
And because I was reading it earlier and had Becky.
So that means you must be missing 4 and 5 also?
Could be, maybe I just didn't notice that, yeah. Didn't even realize because it cut off
So.
perfectly.
4 is under the duties and responsibilities of the department. that the department will be responsible for the management and operation of the work zone throughout the duration of the active construction project, which is a pretty typical standard language. So the next section is duties and responsibilities of the town. And so items 5 through 11 fall under that section. So item 5 said the town will offer commentary and input on the design of the project. The town agrees to assign employees to provide direct input and communicate progress to the town. The department will consider all input, but has the ultimate approval authority. And so whether it's working with DPW as a designee to work through any issues and to review the design along the way as it does impact your roadway system is the intent there.
Before you go on, are you anticipating that we would make some agreement or assign this tonight, or?
No, this was to present it and have this discussion, whether it goes to town council for review or you have further discussion and questions, but this is sort of a draft that I wanted to initiate this conversation.
Right. Okay, so I don't know that it's going to help me a lot to listen to you read that. I appreciate that. I originally had questions on 6, 8, 9, and 10 because they all talk about town responsibility and town right-of-way, and I was wondering, when I read through this, what the heck was the town right-of-way on 101A? Since I don't think we have any right-of-way on 101A.
Correct.
But this is new to me, that you've expanded it down to Craftsman Lane and whatnot. That's the area that you're talking about in all of these sections here?
Correct.
And on Continental is state as well, right?
It is currently state, yes.
Yeah, really.
Okay. So that's the only
Industrial.
industrial whatever. Okay. And then in 18, I just put a big question mark because the legalese there just drove me nuts trying to decipher that. It sort of says the state is harmless, and yet the town has to hold the state harmless. And I found that kind of circular. I didn't know if that's just standard boilerplate, or
it is standard boilerplate, and I'm not a lawyer, so I.
I mean, if we're going to hold you harmless, and then you're going to claim at the end that you have sovereign immunity, what difference does it make if we hold you harmless or not? I mean,
it makes it easier. That's my guess.
Well, they have sovereign immunity.
I get it.
I mean, holy smokes, it sounds so.
The lawyers have to look at this.
But anyway.
Save it for the lawyers.
I would have to say that 18 is against anything that we do because we usually hold, the contractor has to give us an indemnity holding us harmless if they get sued, because with this, we need to talk to our lawyers about this statement.
They should.
The lawyers need to talk to one another because I understand it's legalese for you, but it's against all the contracts that I sign in my office, this statement too.
Okay.
Cool.
That's good.
So we can let the attorneys
So this
write
is
it
more
out.
fun than we can imagine.
All right. All right. Is everybody else set with their comments or thoughts or questions? All right, and that's it for us? I mean, there's nothing you have to take home, this is just for us.
This is to review, and so as the town has their council review, would the town manager be the point of contact for those discussions for revisions? Or how would you like to see that?
Yeah, we'll have a conversation about it after we get some input from the attorneys, and then, and that would be it. And then there's the work zone, the last page was the work zone agreement, which we'll do that at the same time, I suspect. So, nope, very good.
All right, that's all I
All right,
have.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming this evening. All right, next item under new business, committee appointments. The council will consider appointing the following individuals to the town committees pursuant to Charter Article 4, Section 8. On the Agricultural Commission, we have Bob McCabe as a full member, Bess Arden Parks as a full member, Pete Gagnon as an alternate member. On the Conservation Commission, we have Matt Karen as a full member, Tim Tenhave as an alternate member, Heritage Commission, we have Chip Pollard as a full member. Parks and Rec Committee, we have Michelle Creswell as a full member. I should put my glasses on instead of working this, shouldn't I? Sorry. Julie Poole as a full member. On the planning board, we have, we're going to have to talk about Dan Ricker and Neil Anketel are both full members for the planning board. We've not interviewed them, so I'm going to be asking for, we interviewed them 2 months ago, and because of people stepping down, it's opened it up so they can both be full members. And then Jackie Flood is a Town Center Committee full member, and then the zoning board is Fran LaRue and Kathy Stroud is Fran LaRue is a full member, and Kathy Stroud is an alternate member. Paul.
Mr. Chair, per the question that you asked before, the policy, your appointment policy states that you would have to interview Conservation Commission members to be reappointed, Planning Board members to be reappointed, and Zoning Board members to be reappointed.
Right.
If you're going to reappoint the people on the list tonight, you would have to have a motion to waive the
Which is allowed.
policy, which is allowed.
Yeah.
You guys can waive, it's your policy, you can waive your policy. But you would have to ask for that motion to waive the policy for the Planning Board, Conservation, and Zoning Board.
Have the others, Fran and Kathy for the zoning board, have they, they're just up for reappointment?
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody who's on this list has sent in a letter of intent to
Right.
continue to serve.
Have interviews happened for all the rest, though, otherwise? Except for those 4 positions? No.
To be appointed, you did an
Oh,
interview.
okay. I'm all set.
This is a reappointment.
Yeah. Okay. Tom?
Well, I was just going to move to waive the
Yes.
procedures to allow us to appoint these people based on the fact that they're all sitting members, and the recent appointments of the planning board members have been done very recently, so we should need to interview. So that's a motion to waive.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second, but I know there's going to be discussion. So,
Okay.
Okay, and not dramatic, but I think I just want to
But
be
just
able
to
to
get it
raise
going,
something. I did contact the town hall because there was no paperwork at all, so, and that's when I found out that no interviews were done. Now, I don't disagree with your premise. I mean, especially with the planning board people, Dan Ricker and Neil were just done. So that makes perfect sense. And I have to agree, and we've talked about this in the past, interviewing people who have been on the Conservation and Zoning Board, you almost feel silly. They've been there 10 years or 20 years, and you have to interview them, da-da-da. But we always sort of did it because it was a requirement. My only concern is we're setting a precedence, and we just have to be clear about it. That if we want to be able to make, for example, a revision or something that says that the chair and vice chair and committee heads can waive it when there are no other applicants, I have no problem with that. Okay?
And that's my belief, is that there are no other people clamoring to be on the boards currently. Right now, it might change. But, for the waiver right now, I always fall back on Nelson Disco. To interview Nelson Disco after 4 years of service,
and we
I
had
felt
to do
silly.
that, I agree.
Right, so that this, I didn't know the waiver option was workable on conservation, zoning, or planning. But further reading the rules, it is, and so.
But it has to be done by the town council.
Yes, and
Which is
that's
what we're
why,
doing
and because because there's no opposition, if you will, seeking those seats
Well,
right
what if there
now.
was?
Then I think interviews should happen
Well,
on
I
those
agree with
boards.
you, and I'm going to support the motion.
Yeah.
But I think there was an assumption made, and I think the assumption should not be made. Because the assumption was made that we're not going to interview, we're going to come to the council and ask for the
So
waiver.
the waiver should have happened
It should have been
before.
before.
Sure, that's true,
Okay.
but we could have as well just had those people off the list at that point. We would have not voted on them.
I
But
guess I'm
I
recommending we
appreciate
should
it,
put
and
in
I agree with
that
you.
authority into the, because I agree with you.
Yep.
We should put that authority into that policy. That, because it says the town council, it doesn't say the chair and vice chair. gives the waiver.
Well, the chair and vice chair are not giving the waiver.
I understand, but you didn't interview based upon the premise that tonight we're going to give the waiver. You didn't have to interview.
If I might,
Absolutely.
if you decide not to give the waiver, we would just go do the interviews.
I know, which is, I'm trying to agree with you,
I get that.
but I
I'm trying
think it
understand
needs
where
to
the
be
problem
clean.
is.
And the way to make it clean is to write it in the policy.
The policy says that already. The town council reserves the right to waive any procedure herein when it is judged by the town council to be in the best interest of the town.
And what I'm suggesting is that we put in that the chair, the appointment committee can make a determination on those three committees to waive it on their own, based upon
I would
not
disagree
having
with that.
any other applicants.
I would disagree with that.
I'd rather come to the council for us as a council to decide that we're going to waive it.
Okay.
And because I appreciate that opportunity, but I just think it would be better if everybody agreed, because there might be a time when people would want to do that. I don't know. They'd rather wait for another interview.
Okay, but you're only one statement, then I'm going to drop it, because it's not a big deal to me. To me, it's just a procedural policy thing. How could a town councilor say, no, I don't want to give a waiver? That's almost, to me, it would be insulting the applicant.
Well, how can, as a council, we say, the recommendation is made by the interview group to put somebody
It's
on, and that we
similar.
don't want to, yeah.
I know.
It's an awkward thing,
It's a
but again, when it's
procedural.
unopposed, I think that it's best for the interview, I don't want to call them a committee, but
I
the
understand.
interviewers of the applicants, if we think it's just, not a necessity to interview those, that request for a waiver come to the full council for a vote. And the names will be ready to go on, and if it's not, if interviews want to be had, and again, if there are other people who want to be on, the interviews should definitely happen
Yeah.
at that point.
It's just, okay. Again, I
I see where you're
theoretically
coming
don't
from,
disagree with you. I
and
just
I'm-
think it's a precedence that we needed to deliberate before we did it. That's all.
I
But
see
that's
where
okay.
you're coming from, and I agree that maybe last meeting would have been a more appropriate time to ask for the waiver specifically for those three groups.
And again, I agree with the concepts, because it is silly.
It's silly.
It's just a policy thing and clarity
Nope,
on my part.
and we should try and do that then. It'd be easy enough to
And I
request a
think you're
waiver in
right.
advance.
I think your point's exactly right. Okay, based upon that, however, I'm going to support it.
All in favor?
All right, Dan Dwyer.
Call the question.
Call the question, yeah.
All right, so the question is on the waiver. Who seconded it? I'm sorry.
I did.
Tom did, that's right. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain. 600. Thank you. So it has been suggested to me that we individually, as groups, vote on these. So what I'll do is, unless somebody prefers it a different way, I'd accept the motion for Agricultural Commission members.
So moved.
Second?
You want to mention the
To
names?
appoint,
yes,
you want me
okay,
to
please.
label them?
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to vote for approval of Bob McCabe for a full member position, Bess Arden Parks, full member position, and Arthur P. Gagnon, alternate member position for the Agricultural Commission.
Motion by Nancy, seconded by whom? Tom Thornton. Any discussion on that? See none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain. 600. I'll accept the motion on Conservation Commission.
I'll motion on the Conservation Commission.
Move.
So moved. For Matt Karen and Tim Tenhave. For Matt Karen for the full member and Tim Tenhave for the alternate member.
Second.
Motion by Tom Thornton, second by Tom Koenig. I had to do the Tom and Tom. So, any further discussion on that? I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 600.
Put that side of the table together.
Okay, next one, Heritage Commission member Chip Pollard. Anybody make a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Tom Thornton,
Second?
seconded by Pete Albert for a
There's only
full
one
member.
more,
Chip
Pete.
Pollard for a full member? No further discussion. I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 6-0-0. Next, I'll accept the motion on the Parks and Recreation Committee for Michelle Creswell as a full member and Julie Poole as a full member.
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Howard, seconded by Barb. I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Okay, Planning Board, we have Dan Ricker as a full member and Neil Anketel as a full member.
So moved.
Motion by Tom Koenig,
Second?
seconded by Tom Thornton. Call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 6-0-0. Town Center Committee, Jackie Flood is a full member.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Nancy, seconded by Tom Thornton. No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. And then, last but
So
not least, motion, Fran LaRue, zoning board full member, and Kathy Stroud is a zoning board alternate member. Motion by Tom, a quick motion by Tom, second by Barbara. No further discussion. Call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. All right. Very good. We have Kathy left. John's here. That's not Tim. Michelle. Oh, Michelle. Very good.
Kathy Stroud was here.
She was here.
She got it from lockdown.
Yeah.
Let me find the paperwork. I'm going to join you up here in a moment.
Thanks for staying, Michelle.
Do you want us to sign while we're waiting? We can be signing the rest of them.
Last trooper.
Yeah.
I, Michelle Creswell, do solemnly swear and sincerely swear that I will faithfully, impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent on me as a full member of the Parks and Recs Committee, according to the best of my abilities, agreeable to the rules and regulations of this Constitution and laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help me God. Thank you.
Been there, but good like that.
This is it. You're acknowledging that you received the code of ethics, which I Yes. That's a great committee. All right, everybody just sign. What's your signature on this, it appears? But I swore, so I don't.
Am I supposed to be saying that?
I don't know.
Or just this one? Because you swore in.
All right.
Why did, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a mistake on that. We might have to take care of that. I'll have to talk to Paul. All right. Sorry about the delay. Next item under consideration, Scout Ethan Burns from Troop 424 is proposing to restore the chapel in the Grove at Wasserman Park for his Eagle Scout project. And he's right here to make his presentation. Hi, Ethan.
Hi.
Sorry for the hour.
No problem.
At least they don't have sports on.
There we go.
Nope.
It was a little painful. Is that what you're saying? You know, there's a point when Boy Scouts have to come in. I don't remember, it's one of the badges you receive, that they have to come and spend, I think it's an hour and a half at one of our meetings. And it's like, it's a punishment, I think, because I don't know how you do it sitting on the outside there.
One of our younger scouts was here earlier.
Yes, he came up, yeah.
I think they were counting the minutes.
Yeah, oh my gosh. So I apologize for the length of time, but whenever you're ready, feel free to make your presentation.
So, my name is Ethan Burns, working with Mr. Haddad as my advisor for an EGO project to restore the chapel in the Grove down in Wasserman Park. It's right on Lake Natticook. You might have seen it before. It's right at a trailhead. But it's pretty worn down, and I'm looking to renovate the area around it and the physical concrete structure and benches. So a little bit about me. I've been in Cub Scouts in the scouting program for 7 years. So I joined in 2nd grade. I'm now in going into 10th grade. I got my Arrow of Light, so I graduated Cub Scouts in February of 2014, and then joined Troop 424 out of Our Lady of Mercy that same year. I got my first class rank in the first year, and I'm currently a Life Scout, which I got last year in April. And I'm the Senior Patrol Leader-elect in Troop 424, so that's the highest youth leadership position in the troop. And I'm a troop guide, so I help out the younger scouts and help them get their ranks. And I'm no longer a freshman at Merrimack, but I will be a sophomore next year. So basic overview of my project involves painting over the craft paint that's on the concrete structure down at the area. It's kind of like an altar almost, but it's going to be more of a non-religious area. There's some brush and small trees around that we'll clear out, make the walking area a lot more reasonable. It's kind of overgrown and crowded. We're going to cut and remove a large fallen tree that has actually destroyed one of the benches. It broke it. So we're going to cut it and move it into the woods. And then we're going to get rid of all the old wooden benches and replace them with 14 new wooden benches that we're going to build. So these are some pictures of the concrete structure. You can see the day camp has used it for like craft paint and marking it with that kind of thing. But that's not really fitting of an area like this, so we're going to repaint it entirely with just gray. So there's that. So these are some pictures of the benches. You can see that there's some brush and overgrowth in there, and since these pictures were taken, these were taken at the end of the winter. Since then, there's much overgrowth. There is a large bush right in the middle. Yeah, it's significantly changed since this picture was taken. But it is unusable, the space, because of all this overgrowth. So we're going to cut it all back, remove all the trees and leaves that are in the way, and make it usable again. So there's a large fallen tree you can see is broken one of the benches. So we're going to cut up the tree so we can remove it and put it into the woods. So there's some concrete and wooden benches in the area. So we're going to remove all of them and replace them all. Some of them are actually in good condition though. And so we'd be willing to move them to a different area in the town if the Parks and Rec or the town council would like that. Something like Watson Park or somewhere else we'd be willing to move them to, or somewhere else in Wasserman, because some of them are in good condition, but many of them are not. So this is a design for the 14 new wooden benches. It has a budget in mind. This should be pretty easy and cheap to make and install. So this is just specifics on the benches. With about 4 people on each bench, it can hold 56 people comfortably, which is, usable for any kind of gathering, a religious event or non-religious event. Any kind of town gathering could be held here reasonably. So at Home Depot's rates, each bench will cost around $25, which is on the pretty cheap end. So for 14 benches, it'll be $350. And a system of anchoring in the benches into the ground so they don't wobble or they're not moved will cost about $200. So there's 2 gallons of paint and 2 gallons of primer estimated for painting over the concrete structure. So it'll just be gray paint, but because concrete needs to be primed, it's an extra cost. So it'll be about $110 for all the painting and priming materials for the concrete structure. So with $550 for benches, $110 for paint, we have $660 for materials. So then adding in food costs for volunteers, other things like painters, materials, and tarps, it'll be about $860 in total.
$100 for a cushion?
That's just in case something changes or we need more food or anything.
Oh, cushion, okay. I thought you meant a cushion for
No,
the
not
bench,
literal
and I
cushions.
wasn't-
No, no, no. It's
Wasn't
just
following what that was for. Thanks.
All right, I'll make that more clear.
You're remembering those before the cushions, right?
Well, yeah.
So, safety concerns that might be here when working on this project will be power tools, general injuries like splinters when moving the benches, and dehydration from working 8-hour days in the sun. So the Boy Scouts of America power tool regulations make sure that only over 18 can use power tools. First aid kits will be used at all times, and water will be used and on supply at all times. So for the hours this will take, it'll be about 250 hours between hopefully around 10 volunteers for each workday. So 8-hour work days. That leaves about 3 work days this will take. So this could be done in 2 to 3 weekends. So for a timeline of actually completing it, depending on when the district Eagle Board can approve this, it can hopefully have approval done by July, fundraising done by August, and execution done by September. But if they're not able to approve it, approval will be done by September, fundraising done by October, and execution in November.
That could get kind of chilly.
That's about it. Any questions? Feel free to ask.
Barbara's first. She's first.
Barbara?
Hi.
Hi.
Question for you. What is your plan for fundraising?
So generally the troop will do things like car wash fundraisers, and recently we've started doing like online fundraisers like GoFundMe's. And hopefully, because of the reputation of the Boy Scouts, it shouldn't be very difficult to raise some funds for a project like this.
Tom, you will.
So, from what I understand, there's a lot of poison ivy down there too. There could be some people allergic to that. When you're removing the brush, are you removing that as well?
Yes, if it's in the way, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. And then just one more quick question: who's the tougher board to go up against, town council or the executive board of the Boy Scouts?
Well, the executive board has to decide whether it's enough work to be an Eagle project. So there's a little more pushback there.
Yeah, okay. Just checking.
Make sure you add your time at sitting here.
Will do. Yeah.
Actually, the question, Ethan, I have for you is, you had mentioned securing it to the benches to the ground. My printout was a little bit different because the numbers didn't line up and your time frame was different, your timetable was different. So I don't know if everybody here had the same information I did, but it was a little different. So I don't, if you could speak to the securing of the benches, how you might do that.
So we're still in some research in how we're going to do that. It'll most likely be some kind of like playground anchor system where we can screw it onto the wooden benches and into the ground. But yeah, it shouldn't cost any more than that estimate. So if anything, it'll be less expensive than that. So.
Oh, great. I was going to say just one other thing. Check also local with Reeves Ferry Lumber for
Yes.
as you shop for your
I've been told that.
materials.
Yeah.
They normally take care of things.
So naturally, I have to ask you some tougher questions just because it would seem silly not to do anything. But you've got a 5-foot bench that you're building out of an 8-foot board. What are you doing with the 3 feet?
That's going to go. It's going to be cut off and used as the legs of the.
Oh, is okay.
Right.
I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
1.5.
Yep.
Is 5 foot, you're saying 4 people can fit on there, maybe 4 kids.
Yeah.
You're going to have a harder time getting any, I mean, considering the size of America these days.
Yeah, I can see that being an issue.
I didn't go any further than that. Read any article in the paper, and they're talking about how Americans tend to be a little bit larger than some Europeans. I'm just curious where the 5 foot came from, and apparently it came from, that's what you can get out of an 8 foot board.
Yep.
14 benches replaces the number or the seating that's
Yep.
there, or?
So there's currently, including the concrete benches, there's 14 benches there. So that'll take up almost exactly the same amount of space as it currently is.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Nancy?
I was just curious, are you going to be using pressure-treated wood for the
Yes.
benches? Perfect, okay. That wasn't designated. And you can't use the concrete, even the ones that are in good shape, you can't use those in
They're
place?
very worn down, and many of them are like chipped and cracked in a lot of places. So, yeah, just for the sake of uniformity, we could
Okay.
move them with the other wooden benches, but it'll be easier just to replace all of
To
them.
move them in place?
Yeah.
Tom?
One of the things that occurred to me, and you just reminded me while you were giving your presentation, maybe they could use the benches over in the vicinity of the dog park
Yeah?
Yeah.
or other places around Wasserman Park. So
Certainly.
I'm sure there are places that, any of them that are in reasonable shape could be put to good use.
Yeah.
And I did have a follow-up question, is I think, I kind of half heard it, on the debris that you removed, did you say you're moving it on site? You're just going to put it in elsewhere?
Yeah, we're just going to move it back into the woods. Like the large trees, that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll cut it up so we can move it just back into the woods.
And if it's preferable by Matt that it be moved out of the area, I don't know if we could have a truck there. I don't know if that's, if it's okay with Matt, if it can go anywhere there, then I'm good with it also. I just thought
Yeah.
if it's something he wanted to get rid of, it might make it easier to. Yeah, that's.
Sometimes it's good to make a small habitat for smaller
Sure.
critters
Yeah,
and
and that's
stuff like
what-
that. And
no,
scouts
absolutely.
tend to do that kind of stuff, where they'll
Leave it
build
there.
piles of rubbish in order to be a habitat for
Yeah, for all the
smaller
woodchucks.
critters, the ones that you bring from your house.
Chipmunks.
And they take
To be able to
advantage.
hide from the larger animals.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not a bad thought.
Okay, yeah, no, and that's all good. I just was tossing it out there as an idea, but that'll be great.
At least we did that in Louisiana. I don't know what they do up here.
No, I don't know either. It's been a long
I
time.
think that's
since I've
true,
been a Boy
bird's
Scout.
nests and all that stuff, too.
Yeah. Anybody have anything further for Ethan?
I'm all set.
Do we have to sign anything, Ethan?
Mr. Gasparius, when I get a hold of him, we'll send something, but you're all set.
Okay, very good.
Well
We need to-
done.
we need
Thank
to
you.
approve the
Thank you.
project and
Yes, so we'll.
authorize Matt to sign.
Yep, if we'll have a motion.
I believe with the Boy Scouts, it has to be the town council
I
chair
believe
that
it does.
signs. Because you're the head of the town, and I believe they want your
Town
signature.
representative.
Okay.
If you have something in your paperwork and you want to bring it in, I can get to town hall and get that
Okay.
done.
Oh.
It's true.
And that'll be good. I know you've signed a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and usually it's the town representative,
Yeah.
so the chair does it.
All right,
All right.
Oh, very good.
So I move to authorize Ethan Burns from Troop 424 to restore the chapel in the Grove as part of his Eagle Scout project.
Second.
Motion by Tom Koenig, seconded by Peter. Any further discussion on your motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstained, 600. Thank you
Thank you very much,
Ethan. We
Good
absolutely
luck, you did a
appreciate it.
good job.
Thank you, Rachel. All right. Next item on the agenda. Boy Scout Ben Haddad or Haddad? Haddad from Troop 424 is proposing to build a Gaga ball pit for Wasserman Park for the Natatote Day Camp, along with some benches for placement outside of the Gaga ball pit for his Eagle Scout project.
Oh, I know where you can get some benches. I never have either, so it'd be interesting to hear what he has to say.
I've seen one at Exit 5 in Derry or whatever. There's one. I didn't know what it was until I saw kids the other day. I saw the thing there.
How big is that?
You're going to educate us, right?
Yes, I will make sure you guys know what that is. So, are you guys ready?
Great, yes.
Yes. Okay.
You're
so,
on.
Hi, my name is Ben, and I'm here with Mr. Drolley as my Eagle advisor, and I'm here to propose my Wasserman Park Gaga Ball Pit Eagle project. So the project is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be making the Gaga Ball Pit for Wasserman Park near the baseball field. On the map, you can see that it's that little brown octagon where the arrow is pointing to, and it's right behind the baseball field and the playground to the right of it. And that line, that is the line of a hill. It's on a forest tree line on a hill. The Gaga Ball Pit's not going to be built on the hill. It's going to be on level ground, but it's next to a hill. I will also be making 2 benches to go around the Gaga Ball Pit.
Most of us are over 40
Yeah,
and have no clue what a Gaga Ball Pit is. So before you talk about building one,
All right,
why don't
I'll
you tell
show
us
you
what
the
one
video now.
is?
I have a video, pretty much. What Gaga Ball is there's a ball in an octagonal pit, and pretty much what they'll do is they will use their hands to hit the ball at each other's legs. It's like, I've heard people call it the new millennium of dodgeball. Pretty much you just hit the ball at people's legs, and if it hits your knees or below, you're out. Or if it goes out of bounds, out of the octagon, then you are out. And it would be a game that would be played by the day camp that's run at Wasserman, or anybody who happens to be in Wasserman can use it if they would like.
I like that game.
So, now that we know that that is, I will be making 2 benches to go around the Gaga Ball Pit for people who get out or people who just want to watch the game. And like I said, Gaga Ball is a fast-paced and high-energy game for kids of all ages. So, I joined Cub Scouts in 3rd grade when I was about 8 years old. I'm currently a Life Scout. Some roles in the troop that I've had: I've been Chaplain's Aide, Patrol Leader, Troop Guide, which Ethan went into. I help with the younger Scouts that join the troop. Instructor, which is like the Troop Guide but for older Scouts. I have been Webmaster. I've dealt with the website that our troop runs, and I'm currently the ASPL, or Assistant Senior Patrol Leader. So it's like Ethan, but right below him. I have helped with Eagle projects in the past, such as the shed that was built at Reed's Ferry and the dog park sign at Watson Park. So, about me, the project, I went to the land. You can see the measuring tape there. I've measured it out. There is enough space for it, and the land is already relatively level. And this is actually where Mr. Kasparius told me this is where he wanted it. It's not like I just picked this place out of the blue. This is where he wanted me to build it. So we're going to level it, we're going to build the benches and the Gaga Ball Pit, and then we're going to put the Gaga Ball Pit and the benches where they need to be in this area. The specifics of the Gaga Ball Pit: it will be 25 feet in diameter. It will have 24 pieces of pressure-treated boards to build it, and the hardware set and little tops that you can see on top of the walls will be supplied from gagaballpits.com. And I will also be buying some stone dust to lie where it will be standing for a playing area. And the total cost for everything will be $1,300. For the bench specifics, here's the design that I've gone with. It's 8 feet long. It can fit 4 people comfortably. And the total cost will be $125.
Hey, 8 feet for 4 is a lot better than 5 feet for 4.
Yeah.
In case you want just a little personal space.
Yeah. So the total hours that I've accumulated will be 370 volunteer hours, split up into fundraising, the grass, making the benches, and everything else. The fundraising that I'm planning on doing, I'm going to be having bake sales, car washes, and at my school, we can sell pizza to raise money. That was one other thing that we were looking at doing. And just donations at the dump. We can like set up a stand and just collect donations. Those were the 4 that we decided on. Well, I decided on. And the So the total amount of money required for the project will be $1,700. That's for the goggle ball pit and the 2 benches. Then that leaves $100 for the supplies such as water, food, masking tape, measuring tapes, etc. And the estimated amount of hours to accomplish the project, like I just said, was 370 hours. All extra funds will be donated to the Parks and Recreation of Wasserman. For safety, I will be following the BSA policies, such as qualified people will be using power tools, make sure everyone's wearing safety goggles when in range of power tools, gloves. For the stone dust, we'll be having masks for people so that they don't inhale it, because that would be bad. And we'll be having water, bug spray, and sunscreen for all volunteers. And we will make sure there's a first aid kit, just in case there are injuries. I plan to have approval by the end of July. I believe my last approval is set up for July 10th. So that's when I plan to be finished with that. I will be fundraising from July till August, and I plan to complete the project by the end of September, before the snow falls, so that we can finish it before we cannot finish it. And that's it for me. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Ben. Does anybody have any questions for Ben? No? No, well, that was...
Yeah, right?
That was too easy. That was a perfect presentation. So,
all right. That will be a fun game.
There we go.
It's a free-for-all type program, right? It's not necessarily teams,
yeah, it's
right?
there.
So
it's everybody is
last
on their
man
own.
standing wins, or something.
Yeah, it's
like
last
that.
man standing.
It actually,
I think we ought to go with
the goggle ball pit
council and
actually
staff,
serves,
maybe.
serves the 2 purposes. You no longer get the ball to the face like when we were kids, which they frown upon anymore. But you also have to bend over to play the game, so all of us are out of it, I guess. But no, I appreciate it. I think it's a great project.
All I did was talk about America.
I've seen
He's
one of
talking
these on
about
my
us.
way, kind of across the airport access road over, it might be Londonderry at that point. What am I saying? I think I said Derry earlier, and I saw it in use for the first time a few weeks ago. And but anyhow, I appreciate it.
In fact, I have seen one of these in use down in Connecticut. Didn't realize it was called the Gaga Ball Pit. But I did see a bunch of kids playing in there and thought it was pretty intriguing the way they were having a good time with it. And that's cool.
Very good. Well, somebody inclined to make a motion?
I'll make the motion. I guess we're all a little late tonight. Okay, I would like to approve the building of... Huh? He interrupted my thought. I'd like to approve the proposed building of a Gaga pit for Wasserman Park, along with some benches for placement outside of the Gaga pit for your Ben Haddad's Eagle Scout project.
Second.
And I'd like to compliment you on your presentation. You did a nice job. And just to be able to compliment all of the Eagle Scouts. We really enjoy seeing this. And I'm always intrigued by the ideas that you come with. Sometimes it's suggested by Matt Kasparius, but a lot of times it's from the Eagle Scouts themselves. And Matt just says that he is a good place, whatever. But congratulations.
Very good.
Thank you.
So you didn't have any questions because you learned from Ethan, because he went before you.
Yeah, you gave him all the hard questions. You left me with the easy ones.
That's right.
All right, a motion by Nancy, seconded by Tom Koenig. Any further discussion on the motion? I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. 6-0-0. Thank you. We absolutely appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good for you. I'm going to look forward to watching that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't say to put no.
No, come on. You
No. I'd be in the hospital.
Maybe
I'll
tonight we can kick it.
on the chair. I'll be on the benches cheering for you. I could even keep score,
Maybe we
maybe.
can make some little paddles so you don't have to bend over as far.
All righty. Next item on the agenda, item number 5, is council to consider the acceptance and expenditure of a donation in the amount of $420 from the Bear Christensen Trust for the Parks and Recreation Department to be used towards the Camp Scholarship Fund pursuant to RSA 31:95B and Charter Article 8, Section 15. Did you
Just,
So moved.
Did you want to speak?
just
David?
wanted to just say that the Bear Christian Trust has given this for at least the last umpteen years that I can
For a long
think of for a long time. So this has been one of those plaque, maybe opportunities for the council.
That's just what I was going to say. Could we add, and please prepare a plaque?
Yep.
Do we have to add it to the motion, or can we just ask Paul to send it to staff?
However, whatever is better is fine.
Yeah, I mean, I'll do either
You
or.
want a plaque like you talked about last time? Or?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those circumstances where they are repeatedly giving support for this. And I think it requires, or it certainly is owed, a plaque of appreciation for their continuous.
I would agree.
So I'm not sure if it has to be a motion, but a consensus from the council
There was
perhaps.
a motion last meeting, so.
It was, okay, so we'll add it on to
Okay, good.
your motion.
All right, and that was a motion by Pete, because I heard that, and it was Tom Thornton seconded that motion. All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 6-0-0. It's very nice. Okay, item number 6 is the count. Yeah. Seeking the town council's approval to allow for driveway access and building permits on a Class 6 road, Old Blood Road, in accordance with the prior zoning Board of Adjustment and Planning Board approval and RSA 674:41. And with us this evening is Tom Carr?
Yes.
Yes, Tom. Thank you for your indulgence. Excuse me, Tom, if you could make sure that green light is on, press that button.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, perfect.
Right, so, yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am Tom Carr from Meridian Land Services here, and I'm here tonight to briefly go through this request for Northview Homes. John Tenhave is with me tonight, and this is the last phase of his project to request permission to access 2 lots off of the Class 6 Old Blood Road right-of-way, which was approved by the zoning board and the planning board. I'm not sure if you had seen the plan before. I think Tim Thompson's staff memo is very comprehensive of the history of this and what we're requesting tonight. But I thought I'd bring a picture just so you could see it. The yellow line represents the proposed driveway access for the 2 lots that were approved on the Old Blood Road right-of-way. The other 2 lots are off of Babusick Lake Road there, and there's no issues with those. It is a very flat access road, very straightforward design, excellent sight distance of over 300 feet in all directions from the intersection with Babusick Lake Road. And again, there's been no issues with this with the planning board or zoning board, and so we're here tonight just for request for the for town council to sign the waiver, the release waiver documents that were submitted, so that we can pull John can pull the building permits for the lots.
Yep. Does anybody have any questions? Peter.
And I see that the 2 lots are there. At any point, do you expect to develop lot 45-1 right on Babusick Lake Road, next to the old farmhouse there?
45-1, I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
the
which
one,
one.
right off of the lot right off of Babusick Lake Road.
That one has.
The one below it, right next to Marty Drive.
Right, that is, I believe that's already sold, is that correct, John? Yeah. Yes, it will be developed.
Okay, so that you folks aren't developing that lot, or?
John, you're going to have to come up.
Someone will be building on it.
They're not buildable?
No, it's buildable, but I'm not building on it.
Okay.
Right,
Someone else will
Northview
be.
Homes will be selling the lots. Northview Homes will not be building on them themselves.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Tom?
Yeah, thanks. It's been 2 years now since you got the approval. Are you just finally getting around to working on this project? I'm a little curious.
Well, there's just been many projects that I've been involved with the last 2 years, and, yeah.
You have to speak up a little bit, John.
We've been working on the other projects that I've been involved with the last 2 years, and now we are getting to this project.
So the original approval said you had 6 months to get all of the original requirements done. You did get all that done in that
Yes.
6 month time, and it's
Yes.
just been sitting for a year and a half
Yep.
to do the final pieces. The zoning board was told that you were going to be coming out to Marty Drive. And when we went to the planning board, you're coming out to Babusick Lake. Can you talk to me about that to help us understand what your plan is, what you're doing, and why it changed? And
Right, when we were at the planning board, and I apologize, Ken Clinton was the project manager on this, and he's on vacation right now, but I was brought up to speed on this. There was quite an outcry from the residents of Marty Drive to not access on Babusick Lake from that location. So the zoning board approval was to grant access on Old Blood Road, on the Old Blood Road right of way, but it was non-specific as far as it had to be this side or it had to be that side. So hearing the outcry from the residents of Marty Drive, when it came to the planning board, we went to the other access route, which is off of Babusick Lake Road, and I think Tim addressed that in his staff comments.
I mean, I can read what Tim wrote. I'm trying to understand some of the thought processing behind it. I understand
it was simply
there was an outcry.
It
but
was simply to, John's a longtime resident of Merrimack. He's been a longtime developer in Merrimack. He's conscious of outcry from abutters, and it was just it was a switch to try and accommodate the abutters' concerns and desires to have it accessed from the other direction.
And I apologize if it sounds like I'm being harsher than maybe I should be, but you're asking the town council to approve something that we haven't been involved in at all. And while quite often we might just sit and take staff comments or recommendations and rubber stamp them, it feels more appropriate that we should get a little bit more input or feedback on what's going on. Besides which, Ken mentioned that we'd done this at another place, and we're really trying to avoid precedent setting. So I don't want to give this to you because we did it somewhere else. I want to give it to you because it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And we understand what we're doing and not just rubber stamping something. So I understand there was some outcry, but I also understand that it's considered a safer access on Marty Drive than to come out on Babusick Lake Road with another driveway. And I'm wondering if that was considered or
Well,
weighed in? Or
It was considered, and, the planning board, and we talked with Kyle, and everyone agreed that the better way would be going through Babusick. So we just accommodated what the wishes were of the planning board and Kyle and also the abutters.
Okay, because you told the zoning board it was safer and better to go that way, and yet I guess Kyle and people decided or convinced you that it was safe enough to go out Babusick Lake Road.
Well, I thought I was doing the right thing.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just trying to understand, especially if somebody's watching this wondering why is the council granting this kind of an approval without any background information except for a couple of pieces of paper. So I'm just trying to get you to help me understand what all we're accomplishing here. You're talking about bringing a driveway, a 16-foot driveway out to the intersection of Babusick Lake and Bean Road. And I'm guessing nobody seems to think that's a problem, but it seems to me like an issue where people might think they should be able to go through there, but it's not a road. But you can't sign it as not a road because it is a road.
Well, there will be a signage there that says that it's not a through road, and with the addresses of the two lots that are going to be serviced.
But if we were to develop this as a road and just had driveways off of it at the end, we could put a sign that says dead end or something like that. Would that be clearer or cleaner for people, or?
I'm not clear on your question. You mean if it was brought up to road standards?
Yeah. I mean, if we made it a road, it's a road
is
right now, right? It's just Class 6.
It's a Class 6 right-of-way, but this is no different than if someone had a common driveway access whether it was on private land or a town right-of-way, it would be no different than a common shared driveway access in a regular subdivision that just came out onto a right-of-way. So there's really no difference here in the specifics of whether it's a common driveway coming out from private land or a common driveway coming out on a Class 6 right-of-way. The site distance is excellent. There's no safety issues. There's no slope issues. It's really straightforward design and build. Nobody has seen any problems with this.
I mean, at the time, when we changed it, it seemed like it was a win-win-win. The planning board liked it, the abutters liked it better, and the same thing with DPW.
So the abutters on Marty Road are happier. How about the abutters on Babusick Lake Road?
Which actually was my question, not to interrupt it, but the public hearings and everything happened with the zoning board and the planning board, and if the presentation was made onto Marty, were the other people equally, I know they were notified at that time because if they were in fact abutters, which they weren't really. But I just want to make sure that everybody had their due notice, I guess, is what I'm thinking of. Because I would have thought Marty Drive was safer, but there's only a couple of cars, 4 cars maybe coming out of that property. Not too many because it's only 2 house lots. So in the end, I don't think it's really a problem one way or the other. But I would like, when we've used these Class 6 roads as an entrance for somebody's home, South Graders one, off of Woodard Road was the other. I just want to make sure that everybody was notified that this might be happening.
That house sold. It's for sale or it just sold?
What house?
Which house?
The house on the Babusick Road that abuts the
Get a turn on.
I believe that house across from Bean Road that abuts this road just either sold or is for sale.
It just sold, right? Closed too. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a for sale sign in,
Right.
and I think
Yeah,
just
they
this
moved.
last week I saw they moved.
Yeah, they moved.
Yeah, so there's new owners in there.
You're talking about on Mary Paul Lane at 2?
I'm talking about this one right here.
Oh, that gentleman who did go to the zoning
Yeah.
board
Yeah, he was and the planning board.
and the planning board.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, we
Yeah.
gave them the option either side, and they, like I said, between the 3, they thought that was the best route, was to go to Babusick Lake Road.
They who?
The planning board, the DPW, and reaction from the abutters,
Okay.
so,
You're talking about like a 600-foot driveway.
correct.
Does the fire department have any concerns with that?
Oh, yeah, that's why it's 16 feet wide, there's a full turnaround at the end. They were fully involved with it, and they had to sign off.
There's a turnaround at the end?
Yep, there's a hammerhead. And that's all been
I see.
designed specifically for a fire truck to turn around.
I assume that was each individual driveway into the lot. The drive into the lot is not just going to be off the end of those?
They will be,
Oh.
but they're 16 feet wide, where a common driveway is 12.
So 16 feet is what?
16 feet. is
Because
what
every
the-
time they come before us, it seems like it's 18 or 20 feet that they're requiring, but maybe
Well,
that's a roadway as opposed to
right.
a driveway.
Right,
But
roadway.
600 feet is awfully long as well, and it
No,
seems
it's-
like that would cause some concerns, but apparently not.
Peter?
And it's my understanding that as you guys are going to build this driveway down Blood Road, that the folks that currently use it for biking and walking will
Yep.
be able to still use that trail. There'll be no
Absolutely.
trespassing signs or
That's
anything.
right, oh, no.
Okay.
Still owned by the town.
Which I appreciate that segue, because that was one of my other concerns, is that that road be kept open. Because the Dwyer property, that road is not open at the end, and it should be. And so it's no longer the Dwyer property, but that that was a railroad right-of-way.
And it's blocked?
Yeah, but it shouldn't be blocked, I don't
No,
think.
it shouldn't be.
Yeah, it is blocked. And so that's a further discussion, but I just wanted to be sure that was good. So, what's the pleasure? Any further comments?
You brought something up, and I know at the planning board meetings, the butters get notified. We don't know if a butters got notified for our hearing.
Well, they didn't. This isn't a public hearing. This is just our ability to allow the use of a Class 6 road.
Okay, so, all right.
Right.
But I am, that's why, I mean, for me, on both those properties, I wanted to make sure that we've dealt with, I wanted to make sure that the public was aware of what was happening. And so, I didn't read enough of the detail to remember what the planning board and zoning board saw as far as the presentation and at what point it switched over.
I wasn't at that planning board meeting. Bill Boyd was, and he voted against it, but he's not here tonight, so.
Yeah. So what is the pleasure? Do you want to make a motion?
You got to make a motion to do that.
Yeah. So I move to approve. Yeah. All right, so I'll move to approve to allow for the driveway access and building permits on Class 6 Old Blood Road in accordance with prior zoning board of adjustment and planning board approval in RSA 674:41.
I'll second.
Motion by Tom Thornton, seconded by Nancy. Tom, do you want to speak to your motion?
No.
Okay. I just need a comfort level that people were notified, and I don't know if anybody can give that to me tonight.
They were certainly notified for both the zoning board and the planning board meetings. Our regular town council notification is the only one that normally would go out. Yeah.
I know abutters are, but would those...
Any abutters to this property would have been notified.
Would this person?
Part of their policy, right?
Is this
I don't-
person
I don't
on
know
Mary
about that.
Mary Paul Lane?
Mary Paul Lane.
Do you know,
To
John?
Mary
Or do you-
Paul.
I don't know.
Is that
'Cause
a
I-
butter?
They're
Well,
an
it's
abutter
not. It's an
to
abutter
Old
to
Blood
the right
Road,
way.
to where the driveway goes.
It's not an abutter to the property being developed. So I don't,
To the road.
yeah. Because I
The
don't
zoning
have
board
a
was just a
problem with the
subdivision,
project.
So it wouldn't have been a.
It was my concern, big time, with the railroad right-of-way, and to a somewhat lesser degree, but I think they were notified as well on South Grader. That was an impact there, but,
My guess, if you will, is because it was before the planning board with the idea that the driveway was going to go there, that they would have notified everybody that abutted in any way, shape, or form, so.
okay.
So I'm thinking Mary Paul Lane was, at least two was.
Right.
That would have been, had they
Because they would
gone
be
the
abutting.
alternate route, she would have been notified, for sure.
Nancy, I think your mic is off.
So you're saying of the previous alternate route that they talked about, she would have been notified during that?
I don't know if she would have been notified then, because it wouldn't have touched her property where
Either,
the driveway
okay.
was going to go. But in this case, where they were talking about going that way, I suspect that they were notified
Gotcha.
because that's standard procedure.
Okay.
All right. So is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain.
I'm going to abstain.
501 with Tom Koenig abstaining.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you for your time.
Thank you now. All right, next item on the agenda, approval of June 14th meeting minutes. Going once.
Move approval with corrections.
Second.
Thomas.
Well, there are other people that probably looked a lot closer than I did. On page 11 of 18, line 7, it says include news articles as anecdotal, and it was probably meant to be anecdotal, A-N-E-C-D-O-T-A-L.
What number, line?
7. And then on line 9, the first word is, it's listed here as conservation, and I think it was conversation that he had with Attorney Colantuno. I think that was the last of what I found. I'd seen something else, but I convinced myself it was correct when I looked back and reread it.
Any further
Yeah,
corrections?
arrearage.
All right, see no other corrections. The motion was by Tom Koenig with corrections. Who was the second? Nancy. The amended minutes, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 6-0-0. Comments from the press, seeing none. Comments from the public, seeing none. Comments from the council, seeing none.
Motion to adjourn?
No, go ahead, Peter.
Go ahead. I was waiting for
I
you.
just wanted to say what a great turnout it was at the Alzheimer's Longest Day event, and the special day that we made our proclamation and for that worthy cause, and they sold out of hot dogs.
Yeah, I didn't get a hot dog. I was
Yeah.
there.
How much did they make, do you know? 'Cause it was like 2,000 something.
Yeah, I want to say they
wanna
raised
it was like
about
double.
3,000, 3,500, something to that effect.
They had told me that they thought that they sold close to 1,300 hot dogs.
It was there was an email to Eileen from Mr. Bergman, and basically he said it was the best year they ever had.
Great.
They raised a lot, the most money they ever raised.
Yeah, good for them. It's got to be that proclamation.
I didn't see
In
Bob when
fact-
I was there, so I'm going to get
In
probably not
fact,
going to get a star.
he
but-
did not, should he get a copy of that proclamation, I wonder?
Sure, we can
Yeah,
send that.
put it in a plaque.
Yep. I have to tell you, I did see Mr. Bergen, and he berated me. So I didn't understand why, but he
Not getting
did.
a hot dog or why?
That's what I told him. I said, I gave you $10, I didn't get a hot dog. So, but it's a great cause, and I was happy to be part of it. And,
Yeah.
it was very good, but
Thanks for remembering that, Peter.
yes. Anything further? Nothing further. All right. We could sit here all night, or we could,
Well,
Move to adjourn?
Okay.
oh, you did?
We already did, he actually, we already motioned and seconded, but.
Okay.
Who
So
did?
who is
Oh,
it?
that's right, you did.
I'll make
Nancy
the
was-
motion,
Yes.
and Tom can second, how's that sound?
Okay, motion by Nancy, seconded by Tom Koenig to adjourn. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 6-0-0. Thank you, everybody.